Welcome to the Credit Union Business News Podcast, the only all-digital, all-business resource for credit unions. This episode is sponsored by Bator Training and Consulting. We create environments where employees actually want to come to work and members want to keep coming back. Hi, I'm Kbator, your host for the Credit Union Business News Podcast. And as always, we have another great guest. Our guest today is Chris Bauer, current Chief Executive Officer of Endurance Federal Credit Union in Oklahoma, and an industry veteran for over 2 decades. He's been the CEO of 3 different credit unions in his career, and we'll definitely get into that. Chris, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here, Ken.
Glad to have you. Our pleasure. Well, one of the primary reasons where I really wanted to have you as a guest is I'm active on LinkedIn. I noticed that you're active on that platform as well. Personally, I think that more CEOs in the credit union industry should be active on that. And I see you post a lot of pro leadership stuff, which we'll get into. How do you leverage social media for both yourself professionally as well as for your credit union?
Well, personally, I got into the habit over the last couple of years of being proactive in, like you said, a lot of leadership quotes. If I see something out there or something strikes me as something that really inspires me, then I really want to share it and have it inspire other people.
Yeah.
And it's interesting you said, the comment about other CEOs being involved on LinkedIn. I think some of the people that I'm connected with, especially in the credit industry, are surprised that I'm actually on there posting my own stuff. So, yeah, I think this is the only social media that I actually even use. I don't have a Facebook account. I don't do Instagram, but I think it's very important that, us as leaders, try to inspire, especially the up and coming future leaders that we have. Yes. And understand, the importance, them being leaders. So that's one of the reasons why I really do it on a personal credit union wise. We got on social media a few years ago, LinkedIn being one of them. And we try to do a lot more informational job postings, things clear that LinkedIn is set up to do. So I try to share some of those things as well. And articles that I come across that I feel are very important that people, that would help them in their daily lives dealing with some struggles that they might have with some of their employees. And then, of course, some of them reach out to me personally and ask me, for advice, or ask me, maybe to mentor them a little bit. And,
Sure.
And I've done that a little bit too. I've actually had other credit union employees reach out to me and call me, and we've discussed some things, and it's been very beneficial to both of us.
Yeah, that's awesome on so many levels, Chris. Obviously, I'm not going to hook up with you on Pinterest because you're only on LinkedIn.
That's true. You will not find me on Pinterest.
But yeah, you're not looking for like shoes or jackets or anything. I think that's one of the main things for Pinterest.
No.
But
I'm old school.
Yeah, but I will say, LinkedIn is my personal favorite social media platform. I would say anybody that is in business, whether working in a credit union, another business, or for themselves, LinkedIn is, if you're only going to be on one platform, LinkedIn is the one. I find a lot of good information there. And I really appreciate what you said about mentoring because, I truly believe that as well. Fortunately, I'm seeing a lot of great millennial leaders that are either in the CEO ranks or the other C-level ranks. And, frankly, it gives me great motivation for the future of the credit union industry because I see them doing a lot of great things. So yeah, I'm really pleased to hear that you're using that, maybe not intentionally, but you're using that as kind of a mentorship forum for the next generation of leaders in the credit union. So that's great.
Yeah, it's been, like I said, it's been very beneficial for both of us. It helps me feel like I'm really helping the industry along. Like you said, there's a lot of of young people out there that are really, strong future leaders that just need a little help here and there. And I'm glad to be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's terrific. Well, speaking of leadership, and as we covered, you post a lot of pro leadership posts on LinkedIn. What does leadership really mean to you? What does leadership look like for a Chris Bauer?
Well, that's a really good question. To me, leadership is the philosophy of servant leadership. I kind of fall, I think, my personal into that category. As far as the listening, the empathy that comes along with servant leadership, foresight, self-awareness. I think self-awareness is huge when it comes to leadership. I think so many of these young and even some of the older leaders fall into, are you a leader? Or are you a boss? I mean, everyone's seen the little diagram where, this is a leader, this is a boss. But I think it's very true that people have to realize what a leader actually does is develops people. Mm-hmm. And again, we talked about the mentoring, grasping the big picture. Well, you have to have your own personal self-awareness of, things that you could always be fixing within yourself. I posted something this morning. This is, leaders are always learning.
Yeah.
And I think that you can't know, there's no way you can know everything. And if you go into it thinking that you know everything, then you're going to have an air of arrogance or confidence that is going to rub people the wrong way. So you really have to have empathy for people. You have to have foresight. You really have to be willing to serve the people who you're in charge of.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Great definition. Arrogance will really knock you on your behind. I could speak from personal experience that in my late 20s and early 30s, the self-awareness, frankly, for me wasn't all that great. So I'm glad that you pointed that out. Got fired from a couple of credit union jobs, and frankly, at the time, in my arrogance, didn't think that I deserved it, but now in my early 50s, I look back and say, Ken, if you would have really looked into this a little bit more, you would have realized, in self-awareness, if you had some, what you contributed to this problem, and it was frankly a large percentage. So, to mentor that and to mention that self-awareness, I think is really key. So I'm glad that you put that in there in your leadership definition.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I run into this, and I have run into this in the past. You have people who have issues with turnover.
Yeah.
Why are people leaving? And a lot of times it's because you have someone in a management position who does not have that self-awareness, and then you ask them, or you have some sort of conversation with them about the issue with the turnover, and if they have zero self-awareness, they're going to say, oh, I just don't understand it. I don't know why in the world all these people keep leaving and don't want to work under me. Well, it's because you're unapproachable, or you're not giving them the kind of guidance, or they just feel like when they come to work, they dread it.
Yeah.
You got to have self-awareness. So you have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, maybe I'm the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Great point. As I talk about, our tagline, which is creating environments where employees actually want to come to work and members want to keep coming back. I find that, it's very hard to have the latter when, you don't have the former. As I joke with Betty,
yes.
I joke with clients sometimes, is at the very least, your employees should be apathetic on Sunday night, say, I got to get up and go to work. If they're sitting there with an upset stomach and lying awake in bed going, I got to go to this damn job tomorrow, you got a real problem on your hands.
You do. You definitely do.
Now a word from our sponsor, Bator Training and Consulting. When it comes to sales training, do you force a process onto your employees, or is your staff part of the process of creating a unique business development process that aligns with your unique brand, culture, and strategy of your credit union? Obviously, given our tagline, creating environments where employees actually want to come to work and members want to keep coming back, we believe in creating a process from the ground up, not just stamping old 90s level sales training onto our employees and hope that they actually do roll out those tactics on a daily basis. At Bator Training and Consulting, we implement the B plus C plus S process, where we actually look at the brand, culture, and strategy of your credit union and take your frontline employees through a process of creating a process, a unique business development process for your credit union, rather than just old tactics that have been used at institutions for time after time that, sometimes they work and sometimes they just burn out your employees. So if you want to create a true unique branded process of business development and not just sales tactics for your credit union, talk to me, Ken Bator, at 714-681-2821 or at Kbator, B-A-T-O-R, at btcinc.net, and we'll talk about creating a unique business development process at your credit union. One that not only produces results, but also increases the morale at your unique institution.
Exactly.
Yeah. So in this, I want to go back to this self-awareness because, one, I love that you mentioned it, and two, I think that it's a really important point. When you mentor folks, whether it's at your own credit
Mm-hmm.
union or possibly you mentioned, you have the great opportunity to mentor other executives from other credit unions. When you kind of
Mm-hmm.
notice that there might be a little bit of a lack of self-awareness, is there anything that you do or kind of steer that individual and say, you know what, maybe if you did this, you might have a little bit of an easier road?
I think sometimes the main thing that I run into, especially when I'm mentoring what I deem to be the millennials, is their lack of patience. I mean, to me, it's not so much as self-awareness, because I think they're asking for the mentorship so they have the self-awareness. I think mainly they just have this impatience that they want the big job and the big money and the big promotion now. And, people like me, who it took us years and years and years to get to the point where we're at, right? Take a step back and go, okay, you need to just be a little bit more patient, continue to work on, the things that you're obviously self-aware that need to be worked on, and those types of rewards will come to you.
Yeah.
But today it just seems like they just want it. Like, how am I going to get to where you're at right now? Okay, well, it's not that easy. I had to do a lot of moving around and working in places that some people wouldn't maybe want to go. I'm talking about geographical places.
Right.
Taking on roles and responsibilities that maybe some people wouldn't want to do to get to where I'm at. So sometimes the road isn't so easy, and someone just stay right where they're at and they don't want to move, and that's just even more difficult.
Yeah.
Because those types of opportunities don't present themselves as quickly as opportunities maybe somewhere else. Yeah. So I think it's less about self-awareness, more about patience.
Yeah. I agree with you on that one, that I have found a lot of millennials, and I do, hate putting people in a bucket per se, because, I've seen Gen Xers that act more like millennials and baby boomers
Agreed.
that have Gen Z type of attributes to them, and so on and so forth. But I agree with you that most, if not all, of the millennial executives and entrepreneurs I've come across, do seem to have that level of self-awareness and will welcome mentoring on their own terms. But the patience thing, and maybe that's comes from growing up with computers and these things, and saying, hey, we just click this sucker and it happens. So when they want to move up to a C-level position and they ask, how do I get there, and they're 22, you say, well, I got to lay out a 20-year calendar for you, and I don't have that kind of time.
Well, sometimes I do. I mean, if they want to pick up the phone and take the time to call me, I'll explain to them the path to where I tell them my path is very unconventional. I mean, I moved a lot and, took on some responsibilities and some roles that, that was a real challenge, but in the end, I knew if I was successful, it would pay off.
Yeah.
And I think that they have to just realize that not every path is the same, but there's going to be some challenges and some things that they may not want to necessarily do that they may have to do to get to where they want.
Yeah.
And you're right. The whole, social media and the phones. I mean, I have 2 millennial daughters, and it's like trying to get them to pick up the phone and call someone sometimes, and communicate. And it's like, everything wants to be done by text, and everything wants to be done by, whatever. No, pick up the phone and have a conversation with somebody.
Well, those
anyway,
those emojis are easy. You just click one and you got a heart or a face.
If you know what they all mean.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm not sure I even know what they all mean, showing my age again. But yeah, you're right.
Good point. Well, let's segue, because you talked about the fact that you've moved around, and I actually know of other credit union executives that they use that path to move up in the industry, where they may have one particular colleague of mine that I can think of, he was in 6 different C-level positions in probably 5 different states in like 12 years, but he was able to move up that way. So you've been a CEO of 3 different credit unions and in 3 different states, to your point, over the past 15 years. What have you learned and applied in your leadership, from each of those 3 appointments?
Well, clearly they were 3 different opportunities that all came with their different challenges. The first credit union I went to was a troubled credit union. It was a really small credit union out in West Texas. And I, first time CEO, I'm walking in. I'm a little bit terrified, to be honest with you. But I felt confident, but then, you're still a little bit scared because it's your first opportunity. And, the NCOA's breathing down your neck because, there's some things that need to be cleaned up. And, mainly what it taught me is, humility. It taught me that how to actually, turn an organization around and get the existing people that stuck around on board. And it was small, I had to lead from the front. So they had to really see that I was willing to put the work in. The second credit union was a little bit larger credit union. Well, it was about twice the size of the credit union that I was at originally. It was just mainly underperforming. It was one of those where you kind of had, kind of a dormant leadership there, where they just kind of were sitting on things. And what it really showed me was to come in there and to motivate the existing staff, make sure you wanted to keep some of the existing staff that they really wanted to get on board and start performing at a higher level. But then again, teach them your vision and your big picture. Really helped me to evaluate staff. It really helped me to, again, get the staff to kind of meet their potential. Again, a larger credit union had a really good support system, executive team already in place, had been here a long time. They just needed someone to come in and kind of show them that there's some new ways of doing things. There's potential here, show them a vision that I had for the growth, that I shared with the board, before taking the position. Really, since I've been here for so long and have such a long relationship with the executives I have here, one thing it really did was showed me how to empathize more with them, care about their success, because their success was going to be our success or my success as a CEO. Because that's the thing, you can't take all the credit. You're going to get a lot of the blame, but the one thing I learned is you can't go in and just beat your chest and take all the credit. You really have to show the staff that you care about them, share the credit with them, because again, their success is going to be your success. And in the end, everyone's going to reap the benefits of it. Yeah. So again, 3 different credit unions, 3 different sizes, 3 different challenges. But in the end, I'm where I'm at because of my, different relationships I had at those 3 institutions.
Right. Right. Yeah, you made so many good points there. Yeah, especially that, if you don't have, when you come into a situation and you have people there that, some of which, as in one of your situations, was somewhat dormant leadership. I call it,
Mm-hmm.
they've been retired for a while, but they haven't given up the seat. Uh,
Right.
Unfortunately, that happens in this industry
A
every so
lot, a
often.
lot. It happens a lot. Mm-hmm.
Well, to that point, on a side note, and I've unfortunately had some clients like that. What I try to do is say, what, if that is truly the case, and you want to hang on for the next 2-3 years, then for the love of God, find a COO or a CMO or a CFO or some CIO that does have that passion to have the rallying cry, and let him or her run with it, because your institution needs.
Mm-hmm.
But your point on coming into a situation, whether it's a new institution or a department, and getting those folks that have been there before you to rally around something, to get them motivated. Yeah, that's not only very critical to your success, but also not the easiest thing to do always.
No, it's not. And, some people opt themselves out. When you
Yeah.
come in, and again, like you said, you got the rallying cry and you're saying, like, this is my vision and this is what I want to do. And they're used to doing it another way, or virtually not doing much at all. Yeah, they're going to say, okay, well, this is going to be too much work for me. And that's fine. I mean, they can opt themselves out, and
Yep.
again, it helps you evaluate, like I said, you evaluate talent, evaluate people that you want to bring into those roles that have the same type of culture and that have the same type of like vision that you
Right.
have, the desire. Because I have a lot of energy. I don't sit still very well. One of the things when I first came to this credit union was they said, you need to quit signing contracts, because I was always bringing in something new and bringing in a new product or service. And they were just kind of used to things being the status quo. But in the end, they realized from doing that a lot of people was rewarded from it, because we grew so much. I mean, when I took over here, we used to be Halliburton Employees Federal Credit Union, and we rebranded about a year ago. We were about 79 million in assets. Well, as of ended last year, we're 150.
Mm-hmm.
So we doubled in size, and a lot of that I can attribute to bringing in new products and services, a new mindset, a new culture. And we're hoping with the new brand and the new name that hopefully in the next 2-3 years we're talking again and we've doubled again. So I hope that's the plan. But again, you're only as good as a CEO as your staff, really.
Yeah.
And they make me look good. But the thing is, you take care of them and you let them know that you appreciate them, and they will walk through walls for you.
Yep. Yeah, I had a mentor many years ago who said, one, you're only as good as your people, and two, you have to earn the right to where they feel like they want to walk through a wall for you, and it sounds like you're doing it there. Since you're not very good at sitting still for a long time, I'm gonna segue. I'm gonna segue to the last question, which is, as a mentor, given your experience and tenure, what advice would you give a credit union executive that's just starting his or her first CEO position today?
That's a really good question. I wish I had someone telling me stuff, 15 years ago when I started CEO. I'll keep it simple, kind of things we talked about. Be patient, create trust, in your people. I mean, they need to trust you. They need to know that you care about them and that you care about their success. Too many CEOs want to hold back and take all the glory and the credit for themselves. And then they create animosity and a lack of trust. And then the last thing, I tell people this all the time: hire the right people and get out of their way.
Yeah.
That's it. It's simple.
Yeah. Why would you hire this great person and then micromanage him and tell him or her what to do?
Amen.
All it does is make your job harder.
Right. If they're not going to cut it, they're not going to cut it. You get somebody else. But you got to trust them. They got to trust you. Just get out of their way. Let them do a great job for you.
Yeah. Yeah, great points, Chris. Some great advice and really solid insight and leadership. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
Absolutely. Glad to do it. Always glad to talk about mentoring and leadership. And I'm passionate about the credit union industry, passionate about, being a good leader. And I'm glad to spend time with you today.
Terrific. Thank you, Chris. It's been our pleasure. And thanks to all of you who have been watching or listening to the Credit Union Business News Podcast. Take care. Learn more about Credit Union Business News at creditunionbusiness.com. Suggestions for the Credit Union Business News podcast can be directed to Tim O'Hara at tim@cubusiness.com or Ken Bator at Kbator, Bator, at btcinc.net. To learn more about this episode's sponsor, please go to btcinc.net.